Hey guys, another boring Who's Next video on the reissues. By the way, this is just iced tea, a slice of lemon, and some ice in it. There's no booze in this whatsoever. So it's 1982. I'm watching City TV, the new music in Toronto, Ontario. Well, I lived in Hamilton, Ontario, but you know. So on the new music, they had this thing about this band called The Who. It was their final tour, and they had like a 1 hour special on it. And then later on, they actually did the press conference in Los Angeles, where they had Kenny Jones, Roger Daltrey, John Entwistle, and Pete Townsend all sitting at this long table with all this fucking fruit in the front. I'll never forget it. I recorded everything on my old man's VHS recorder there. Anyhow, so watching this new music special, I was, fuck, this is some pretty cool stuff. And I'm in the grade 8th grade, right? And when I recorded everything, I called my friends over. Hey guys, we got to check out this band called The Who and all this. And sure as shit, my friend John, he gets so turned on. He's a bigger Who freak than I'll ever be, right? Anyhow, so 82's ending. It's December 17th. It's the infamous final concert, 43 years ago almost, at, Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens. I saw Rush there twice. I think I even saw a couple of hockey games in there when I was a little kid. Saw Yes there in 1987, big Generator tour. Smoked a nice joint with the guys next to me. Didn't know them from Adam, but hey, what the hell. Sorry, sidetrack, tangent, as usual. Getting back to The Who. So, at the same time, Michael Jackson's Thriller came out, and, as a little kid in the 5th grade, I was listening to Off the Wall. Basically, whatever they played on the record, whatever they played on the radio, I'd hit play and record, I think it was CJJD in Hamilton, Ontario, CKOC in Hamilton, Ontario, and I think Chum FM in Toronto. Those were the AM radios at the time. I was too young, too uneducated for FM radio and Q107 and 102.9 CFNY, 97.7 St. Catharines, and all that cool stuff. Anyhow, sidetrack number 2. All right, so getting back to this, yeah, I could care less. I mean, that summer of '82, I was listening to Paul McCartney's Tug of War for the entire month of August. When I heard, "The doggone girl is mine," I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I said, really? You sold out this badly? Because the Stevie Wonder stuff that he did, no, okay, Ebony and Ivory aside, what's that you're doing? Dude, you want to fucking shake your woofers, man? And it's Stevie Wonder on drums. Anyhow, sidetrack number 3. Well, I'm listening to The Who, and then the following summer in '83, my friend John buys the Kids Are All Right LP, and I actually recorded back then the edited version for TV, Kids Are All Right, again off of City TV on my old man's VHS recorder. And yeah, I hit play and record for the final concert. I used the LP mode or whatever, so the sound was really shit, but whatever. So that was my introduction to The Who, and this album was a huge part of it. And actually, it was my friend John that bought this, because I'd bought The Who's It's Hard, gave it to my best friend Dan as a Christmas present, which then wound up back at my place so I could record it, and then wound up back at his place, and it had gone back and forth a few times. What can I say, So this version here, and even though the label's not on it, right, I think this is MCA 5220, I believe. And it actually says master file, sorry, on the runout grooves on the inside here. So I know that it's the half-speed mastered Canadian version from the early 80s. So anyhow, this actually sounds better than any CD version I've heard so far. Now, bear in mind, I just recently ripped a copy of the 2023 reissue CD from a friend of mine, did the whole back and forth, and I'm still up in the air. This has always been a crappy recording. Now, I keep saying that, and I want you now, as much as I don't I'm not a fan of Michael Fremer, but I watch his tracking angle videos like a crack addict. And anyhow, he just did, and I'll make sure I put the links in below, a deep dive, as he calls it. You guys may have already seen it on Who's Next. And then the Easter egg in it is he plays Bob O'Reilly, and then the first 30 seconds of Bargain. And holy shit, I mean, even though it's compressed YouTube audio, it doesn't fucking matter. It sounded better than anything I'd ever heard. And he had the acetate, not the acetate, fuck. He had the lacquer of the 1995 heavy vinyl reissue. Now, I'm going to get to that in a minute, too. Go to that Fremer video. He doesn't talk about the master file one, which, again, being from the US, I'm probably sure it was more available up north than it was here. I'd found this at a flea market in Carleton Place, Ontario, back in '96, because '95, I just moved to Ottawa. All my stereo equipment was back at my mom's place, because the apartment I lived at was called the Four Holes of Nepean, and you didn't want anything expensive in your apartment there. So at the time, you know, I was still into vinyl. I bought the Pink Floyd box set, Pink Floyd Pulse box set, you know, ELP Tarkus, ELP Trilogy, both MoFis. So I go to this Carleton Place flea market, and I picked up this for like $5. And I also picked up Wish You Were Here CBS Master Sound, both half-speed mastered. And I think the Master Sound was also a Canadian pressing. I can't remember. So anyhow, I played and back then also, I'll try to get pictures within this video. I had my dual CS15, my trusty old dual. Again, I killed it at my own hands. And then I had a M97 HE cartridge, which is basically a poor man's V15 Type 5 MR, right? I bought that cartridge in '94. This was mid-1996. And, you know, I transferred a lot of my friends' which is basically a poor man's V15 Type 5 MR, right? I bought that cartridge in '94. This was mid-1996. And, you know, I transferred a lot of my friends' LPs to cassettes and my own LPs to cassettes. And it served me well until this happened. So the Masterfile LP, which I could have gotten through HMV, which is where I actually got a lot of my pressings, both from the HMV downtown Toronto on Yonge Street. Sometimes I'd go to my local one in Hamilton. I'd order it and then have it delivered to there, or up in Ottawa, the one at Rideau Centre back in the day. So that's how I used to get my vinyl. In the summertime, again, you don't want to buy vinyl and drive it across the border and all that stuff, because it could get warped and melted in your car. So anyhow, getting back to the story, and that was tangent number 4. I can't afford it, both in 1995 and then again in 2003. Now, 1995, I just moved to Ottawa. I knew the pressing was out there. I knew of its existence because I used to read Fremer in Stereophile, because he was the only guy that made any sense in the record reviews. And anyway, so I never bought it. And I could have ordered it through HMV. They would have imported it from the States from whoever their distributor was. You know, again, lost opportunity. Now if you go on Discogs, I think it goes for a couple of $100 now. So then now fast forward to 2005, sorry, that's when Fremer said the second version of that came out. And basically that was a repress of the 1995 version. So he said if you missed out on the 95 version, get the 2003 version. There was and it was, I think that was Classic Records, or the 2005 version. Fuck me, I'm really screwing this up sober, like I said. Yeah, 2005 repress, and I think it was Classic Records is what he mentioned. Again, the link will be below. Go to the video. It's actually pretty good, you know. And I've heard these about other represses that came out of the Abbey Road studios, the mastering studios. Now I've got the only Abbey Road repress that I have is Bob Marley and the Wailer Legend. And that's the one I bought in Mexico City because, you know, I'm a nice guy, support your local economy and all that stuff. And Exodus, the song, obviously it's nowhere near what was on Michael Johnson's thing at the Poetry on Plastic event. Even though between the Galleon TS 120s and just the Cornwalls, the thing ran out of gas, the amp ran out of gas. Anyhow, didn't in here because again I'm using Black Ice F100s. You know, tangent number 5. Keep track. So yeah. Now this whole new thing comes out with the box set and the live tracks, the Lifehouse tracks, Who's Next, the original, you know, running order. And I'm like, fuck, $300 just to get the Dolby Atmos disc, and I gotta buy all this other crap. And I remember, I think Pink Floyd this week or next week, Dark Side of the Moon is dropping on Dolby Atmos on Blu-ray. So I'm definitely getting that because I've got the SACD from 20 years ago. I had the pressing from 20 years ago, which actually, the 2-channel on it sounded better than the 2-channel on anything because, as I've said before, Us and Them, every version I've heard, or every LP or CD or SACD or DSD or whatever that I've heard, Us and Them falls apart during the big, you know, the climax, I guess you could call it. Everything falls apart. Every speaker I've heard it on, every system. I don't give a shit. It's only audiophile in the quiet bits, you know, Great Gig in the Sky and stuff like that. And so, you know, Us and Them just proves that no. So fast forward to the 5.1 version and I'm like, wow, now it sounds nice, right? And I'm hoping that the Atmos sounds even better than the 5.1. I'm hoping to get a ripped copy of the 4-channel quad mix that was on the immersive box set that came out a few years back. I know I just went from the Who's Next to Dark Side of the Moon, but there's a point here. Now, as you can see up on the screen here, probably flickering away, Amazon Music, because I don't fuck Apple and fuck all the other streaming services, they've got this on Dolby Atmos. Now, Baba O'Reilly and Bargain are not in Atmos, but I think if you search hard enough in Amazon, you will find it, right? Anyhow, it's just really, really fucking good. I mean, I don't know who did the remix. I don't know if it was Giles Martin or somebody else, but they really, really fucking did it right. They used the height channels to kind of, again, use them like height channels. So what you hear out of the speakers kind of almost feels like a line array in your living room, which is the way it should be mixed. And then every now and then, and again, they'll just throw some effects up there just for fun. The surrounds, you know, fill in everything nicely. Once in a while, there's some ping-ponging going on, and I love that shit, right? You know, all the 2-channel guys, they freak out. Well, fuck them. You know, 5.1 or, you know, 7 point whatever. You know, I know the numbers game's a fucking mess. Anyhow, so yeah, to right now, the Atmos blows away all 2-channel versions. Except like I said, go to the Fremer video. If you want to fast forward to the last 5 minutes, you know, be my guest. Really, that's it. It was a really fucked up review, but what can I tell you? That's my history with the Who. That's my history with Who's Next. Rock on and have a good rest of your weekend and next week. Cheers, guys.